So I'm browsing this Mercenaries book, scrolling through the pages, looking for random lore, random mechs, until I run to the most glorious, epic unit ever. Here, the Canned Heat. I'm thinking Legion of the Doomed, Damned, and it's a burning skull. It's a burning can. What? Wait, not this burning can. We are not talking about a burning can. But we are talking about canned heat. When I found these guys, I was immediately inspired. So it reminds me a lot of those old school Legion of the Damned or Legion of the Doom. I forgot which one it is. But I had these as a kid and they were amazing. And also, the salamanders also have kind of that burning feel to them from 40K. Maybe soon I'll share and do some of my Space Marine painting. But I'm looking at these guys, and here in the imagery, they fail to say that the color is steel gray. And here it shows a little bit of a steel color, and it's not black. So we're gonna try using the sponge method and try using it for both building up the base and working on those flames. And just kind of looking at the flames, there are different ideas of how to make flames. I've seen people blend them. I've seen people do the sharp lines. You can see this example. He does the sharp lines. I'm going to attempt to do the lines mixed with blending. And I have some just vector designs of different paints or different vector designs of different flames here. Let's jump into it and see how the canned heat will turn out. Okay, first things first, start adding that base layer of the Inky Bite Darkness. Now I'm saying Inky Bite Darkness because it's exactly the same. I believe I'm using P3 paints coal black, and I am completely aware that P3 paints are kind of extinct, I think, but it looks just like Inky Bite Darkness. Now I believe I'm trying to build up those black shades underneath, just trying to be mindful of this exact lighting that would be coming down from above. So if I'm trying to build up this gunmetal gray, I don't want everything to be gray. I want it to feel like there's still black underneath. Now I'm taking that mix of half of the Inky Bite Darkness and mixing it with half of Thunderhawk Blue, and being mindful again of hitting higher up where I did before and thinking about where the light is hitting on the tips, and I'm trying to blend up to the tip to try to make sure I can get that impactful shading. And finally, going straight to Thunderhawk Blue. And I think it's most important here is making sure rubbing off as much paint as I can from that sponge, because you're not only trying to build up that gradient in the layer, but you're trying to make it lighter as you're going up. If I go with the bright colors and go with a massive loaded makeup sponge, you're gonna lose everything that you just worked on. So making sure to keep rubbing off is important. In every single game I play, I'm a bit of a hipster. I like choosing the people and the groups that are unrepresented. Now, this group is one of the ones that you probably would never see on the tabletop or anyone paint. Canned Heat comes from the world of Sayav. I can't say it. And apparently they were attacked by the Free Worlds League. And after that, they fell into complete anarchy, into destruction, which led to different leaders building up and starting a whole new kind of government and rule in Sayaf. But the coolest thing about these guys is the fact that they are not just a group of people from one region. They are a mixed cultural an ethnic mixed group. So you could imagine people from different languages and areas all trying to work together in one unit. And apparently, this is where their name came from, Canned Heat. There was a reporter who was doing, I guess, assume a report about them, and he mentioned about them, he said, this force is a barely contained fire waiting to explode. Now that I'm done with building up with that sponge, I can now start focusing on highlighting. Again, I'm not at all trying to attempt to hit every single corner. I'm only hitting those areas that I hit with the makeup sponge and just doing the top lines and some of the outside lines. And first I'm working with a medium sea gray from Vallejo. And finally, the last thing about this group is that they are built of a few mech lances and then a few armor divisions. In dealing with this miscommunication, they do not work together. They work separately, but somehow that works. So the mechs are focused on urban warfare, and the armor division is focused on more that like inside of like the terrain and mountainous areas, and somehow they are working as a unit. Now I have a mix of the medium sea gray and with Vallejo off-white, and I'm trying to now just do those top edges. I'm not even focusing on the sides, just trying to get that source lighting now looking from the top. And the final highlight for the armor is going to be a straight white, just focus on the sides and like the center and the corners of the panels. And what I'm realizing, this kind of looks like a non-metallic metal, and I really like the way this is looking. And if you make any mistakes here, it should be really easy to clean up, but you got to be careful when doing these small highlights, making sure there's very little paint on the brush and really just using a light to find where that reflection's coming from. And finally working with iron hand steel and just trying to pick out a lot of the metal details. I realized when I first started working with the miniatures from CGL that I was missing a lot of the metal pieces, and after looking back at some of those old models, I realized it does make a big difference when picking out all the metal as you can and using some of those references found on the web. And I think if you see some of the ones coming from Mechanical Frog and his YouTube channel, he has really good images. They're shown on his videos, and you can see those areas where the metal should be picked up. Now I want to start working on those glorious flames on the hand and two legs. Now, one tip, if you're doing freehand, it is almost really important to frame out the work you're going to do. And I use micron pins sometimes. And of course, a micron pin is not going to show up on this. So I'm just trying to block out where those flames are going to go with the red. And I know moving forward, I can clean up some of that with the black. But it's okay to make mistakes here because you can easily clean it up. But have fun. But I do suggest using micron pins if you're going to do any kind of freehand. Now I'm going to build up on the red and using the dark vermilion from model color and just now block out every single thing I've done just to bring up the red to more of a brighter feel. Next section of the layering of the flames, I'm using P3 Kador red highlight, and again, I know this color might not be around, but it really looks just like a normal kind of darker orange, and I hope to get more Vallejo oranges soon. I just really like this orange, so I need to kind of expand out. In the final highlight of the flames is using Heartfire from P3, and yet again, I know it's P3. It You can look it up online. It's kind of like a darker yellow. It's not necessarily a bright yellow as you would see on like an Imperial Fist. And finally going to the sponge. So I'm taking Vallejo Ice Yellow and I tried to take off as much of the paint as I could, and I'm just trying to build up here. And it's kind of thinking about hitting those tips because from the source image, it went to white. I don't really want to go to white, but I want to have a really big distinction of that white hot feel. Next, I'm building up this glow effect here in the center using off-white and then using green stuff world, green fluorescent. To be honest, I have no idea what this thing is. On the record sheet, I don't know if it is a laser, but on all the source images, there's some kind of green coming out of there. If you know what it is, let me know. I'm thinking maybe it's some kind of searchlight or something. Feel free to share with me because I need to know. And finally, doing that burn muzzle effect with the glazing of Draghoth Nightshade, then Royal Purple, then moving to Vermilion Red. And this is a really cool effect when done well. This mini, I had like the smallest space ever, but it worked. And it's all about doing those small details that make it pop out, and you can look back and feel proud of the work you did. Now, I'm working on the lens here, and from the source material I found online, it's showing it as purple. I have never done a purple lens, so I'm kind of excited about doing this. I'm using the royal purple, then I will do a 50-50 and going layering a little bit farther down and using the mix of the royal purple and the green stuff world lilac. And finally the last, well, the second to last is straight lilac. And right after I do that, I want to do a hot pink highlight at the end, and I just took white and I mixed it with the brighter red of the Vallejo I had. I was testing different pinks, and this was just kind of the one that ended up looking, in my opinion, the best. And finally, going with a Vallejo off-white. I had thought about putting that dot on the lens, but then I realized the light's not really hitting it the same way because there's this little overhang on the top of the helmet. Well, helmet's not a helmet, the top of the head cockpit. And so I decided to just do the edges of white. And then after I finished that, I am just glazing that pink again just to kind of give that glow effect. And it's looking quite interesting. I like it. It does remind me of Infinity the game Aleph. And this is the final result after the flames have been done and the gradients layer and then the matte varnish on the model. So I'm happy with this. I'm hoping that you guys could learn something from this and enjoy just being entertained by me talking and sharing how I am painting with the makeup sponge. Look forward to doing more merc lances, clan groups, and more to come, and showing more techniques. So don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me on painting the canned heat, and have a wonderful day.